Hello, my loves. We are going to do a cosmic conversation and an energy update on the shift that we are currently in. So if you're catching the replay and you're on YouTube or Facebook, hashtag it replay. Let me know that you were here. If you are watching on TikTok, know that this broadcast is on YouTube. So you can always go over there, or if you want to go back and listen again, it's on YouTube. So I'm just going to give it a few minutes because this is impromptu live. But if you have any questions, and you can do this even after the fact, right? So if you have any questions at any time about the shift that we are currently in energetically, if you have any questions about what you're going through or what you're experiencing, please drop them below and I can do additional videos or create additional content on this topic because I felt really compelled to go live today and talk about this. It came up in a one-on-one session today as well. And what we're going through, a lot of people are confused or struggling or not understanding what's happening. And so it's really, really important. If you are new to me, if you are just finding me, I am Johanna Burkhardt. I am a multidimensional channel, teacher, and healer. And I'm really here to help you be the change and embody your multidimensionality. Really embody it. Step into it because we are all multidimensional beings. And so we're just going to kind of go into it because I can already feel the guides wanting to just come through and talk. So I have personally been channeling different collectives of guides on what many have called the shift or the event. For at least 6 years, if not more. And we've been talking about it for so long, right? That now that we're in it, it's almost surreal, because we've been anticipating this shift. And then, in 2020, things really started to accelerate. The timeline started to accelerate. The frequency on the planet started to elevate. And not from a space of temporary influxes, right? People look at the Schumann resonance, for example, and they see these spikes in the white lines and they spikes in frequencies. And they take that as temporary influxes when in actuality, it's not always a temporary influx. It's us visually seeing a sustained increase, a bump in our frequency. And when we will know that we have really started, the planet has really started to hold and embody the higher frequencies, is we will see a consistency in that patterning, right? We will see a consistency. It won't be just white spikes. It will be a consistency, right? So we have gone through many consistent, sustained frequency increases on the planet. What does that mean? In layman's terms, it means we as beings are moving faster because time is an illusion. Time isn't real. It's something that was a human construct that was created, right? So what's actually moving faster is us. We as a planet and we as beings that are magnetically attached to Gaia are vibrating at a higher rate of speed. So we are processing more information per hour than we ever have before, ever. And so it gives us the illusion that time is moving fast. It gives us the illusion that things are moving fast, when in reality, we are the ones that are moving fast. We are the ones that are moving fast. So it can be really hard right now to hold the concept of time. It can be really hard to know what day it is, to keep things straight. Last week could feel like 2 months ago. It's an interesting time to be alive for sure. And the world stage is showing us how much more light is on the planet, right? Because all of these dark, and I'm going to do it with quotation marks, little air marks, all the dark that we see has always been there. And you guys, for those who have been following me for years, I say this a lot, but it's true. It's like a dimmer switch, right? So you clean the whole house and then you turn the dimmer switch up a little bit. You're going to see dirt that was always there that you just couldn't see before. And so you can clean that up and turn the light up a little bit more, and you're still going to see more dirt that was always there, that you couldn't see before. And that's what we're seeing on the planet today. They don't have the ability to hide anything. They can distract us from it, but they can't hide it anymore. And so there's so much coming out on the world stage right now that's being exposed, and it's going to continue. It's only going to start ramping up more and more, and getting crazier and crazier, right? And it's because it's needing to create that mass awakening. It's going to continue to do so until people break their own inner denial of what's actually happening in the world. And so it's really important to understand that. I mean, honestly, the CIA just secretly, quietly, I wouldn't say secretly, quietly released documents that we're in a simulation. The CIA, right? They just quietly put that document out in the world. It's like, oh, hey, guess what? Well, people like us, we already knew that, you know? But the reason why we really wanted to come on here today, before we get into all of that density stuff, is with this shift, what's happening is and this is something that they're bringing me back to when I channeled this forever ago. I don't know, 5-6 years ago. There was this misunderstanding out in the world, in the spiritual world, new age world, whatever you want to call it, that there was going to be two earths, right? That we were going to have two different complete earths. And that was going to be the shift, right? We have old earth and new earth, or earth and new earth, whatever you want to call it. And that is not the case. There's no two physical constructs. They're just dimensions. And dimensions are just a shift in frequency. That's all a dimension is. Dimension is a frequency that's another, it's a higher frequency or a lower frequency, right? It's just a different frequency. Think about a radio station. It's just a different wavelength. It's just a different channel. So we are going to have people, and we are in this right now. And I mean right now. A couple of weeks ago, this shift began. And we've been going through the shift for a while, but really all of that was preparatory. That's not even a word for us. Preparing us for this shift. But we had the actual energetic shift begin a couple of weeks ago. And so we are in it. And so when that happened, a lot of people started to feel a lot of grief. They started to feel a lot of exhaustion. You might have problems sleeping. Relationships, things could have changed dramatically. Like, think about what has happened over the last couple of weeks, the things that have changed in your body, the things you've changed, the way you're processing, the things that have changed in your reality, things you've been feeling. And look at that, because what happens is the example the guides you use today, we try to use very human analogies. There is a freeway in Houston. It's got like 26 lanes, right? So think about all those 26 lanes merging down. That's what's happening. So as people are moving into those higher frequencies, it's this merger that's happening. And so you can really move across those mergers, and you can move across those timelines and think that you experience something. And then you're like, oh my God, did that just happen? Did I experience that? Did I not experience that? It's like you have your own glitches. You have your own glitches, or you think you're losing your mind, or that you have dementia or something. You know, it's the strangest thing. You're like, I scheduled my client session. I know I scheduled the client session, but this morning it wasn't scheduled. And so I had to reschedule it. And I'm like, what happened? And right. And Tanya, for those of you who know Tanya, she had something happen to her this morning where she was like, I know I did this, yet here I am and I didn't do it. And so what's happening is we're moving so quickly across these timelines as we're merging over into what we're going to call New Earth, which is just a higher frequency. It's just another dimension, right? And so there's so many people making this mass transition right now. So be gentle on yourself. You are going to feel a heaviness. You're going to feel weight. You're going to feel shedding. You're going to feel all the kinds of things that need to be removed from you, need to be alchemized, need to be integrated, whatever terminology, let go of, whatever terminology that resonates with you, it needs to happen in order for you to go into that frequency. You cannot take the programming and the beliefs and the density that worked in a lower dimensional, in a fourth or third dimensional frequency into a higher frequency, it's not going to work. So you're going to keep hitting these things until you yourself are at a frequency where you can sustain the higher frequency. It doesn't mean you won't go in and out of it. A lot of us go in and out of it all the time right now. But in order to sustain it, you have to be able to hold the beliefs, the mindset, whatever you want to call it, believe what is going to help you be in that frequency. You have to be that change. It can't be a temporary thing. It's not like you go into meditation and you go to a higher frequency and you have this amazing experience of oneness and connectedness. No, you have to make those changes inside of you. You have to do the integration work so that you can hold the higher frequency sustainably. That's what the real work is that we're doing, that we will do every day for the rest of our human existence. It's about integration. You have to be the change. And so this has always been my message, but it's even louder right now. It's even more important right now. Now is the time to believe in yourself. Now is the time to forgive yourself. Now is the time to accept yourself. Now is the time to know that you are worthy. Now is the time to know that you can make the impossible possible. Now is the time to know that you can believe things into fruition. Now is the time. No more self-doubt. No more being afraid of uncertainty. No more judgment. You have to make this change, this transition. We are in this window. Now is the time. Now is the time. Like I just keep hearing that. Now is the time. This present moment. Now is the time. The other thing that the guides want to talk about is we are not all meant, and this is probably going to ruffle feathers, but we are not all meant to go into the unity frequency. We're not all meant at this moment in time. There will be a time when we do that. And if you understand how the universe works, how the simulation works, we continuously go from a state of complete separation back to unity. And we have another explosion, right? And we come back into unity, and then we have the big bang again, and everything fractals out, and we do it over again, right? So there's this constant repetition of us going. That's the game. That's the game we signed up for. From complete separation to unity, right? Well, we're getting closer and closer to unity. So there will be a time when we are all there. But right now, in this now moment, we're not. And not everybody's going to make that transition. There are going to be people who make the complete transition, who will see a reality that is complete in unity. It doesn't mean that you aren't on the same planet. It doesn't mean that you are not around, seeing the same structures, if you will, but you will be in a different frequency. So you will see things differently. You will see people differently. You won't see the things that other people in other frequencies are seeing. For example, you don't always see fairies. You don't always see galactic beings. You don't always see Bigfoot. You don't always see gnomes, right? You don't always see all of these different druids. You don't always see druids. You don't always see all these different beings and species that are here, even though they're all here, because they're in a different frequency and they're living their best life, right? And doing what they're there to do. It's all overlaid. So you're just going to be in a different frequency. So there's going to be people that move completely into that unity frequency, and they're there to help hold it, to help anchor it. There's going to be some that stay in the lower frequencies, and not that higher or lower is not a good or bad thing. There's no judgment here. The only thing that judges is ego. Ego is the only thing that judges. So it's just a different experience. And then there's going to be, we'll call it the third, and that's where I am, and that's the bridge. This is the hardest role that we will play. Not everybody is meant to be a bridge. And just because you're a medium or a psychic medium or an Akashic record channeler or a channeler in general, None of that means you are a bridge. All of those things are a bridge, right? It doesn't mean that your mission here is to be a bridge. Some of us are meant to be a bridge. That means we have one foot in each frequency. We have one foot in each world. This is hard. I've been struggling in all transparency with this energy for the last couple of weeks because I feel so much of the lower frequency, the lower dimension. And I also feel the unity. I see this and I see that. And I have to be ridiculously aware and conscious of my choices and seeing one with compassion and one knowing it's just the higher knowing and finding that balance. The reason why being the bridge is the hard job is because we have to be in both. We have to be in two places. We have to be in all places at once, right? We have to be in that energy, an omniscient energy. We have to be in both realities. We literally walk in duality, in balance. And the reason is because our job is to help bring people over from the lower frequencies into the higher frequencies, to help them see that they have a choice, to help them see that they don't have to live in this world. Some of us are going to help more people become bridges, but most of the time, if you are here watching me and the fact that what I'm talking about right now about being a bridge resonates with you, and you're struggling, there's a good chance that you are a bridge. And your job is to help transition people. This doesn't mean you're here to wake them up. It doesn't mean you're here to put shit in their face, to judge them, to ridicule them, to prove them right or wrong. You're here to be that space of helping people transition who are ready to transition, to being the change, to being the light. And it's not an easy place to be. It's not an easy place to be. So it's important for us to remember that sometimes we come here and we incarnate to have a human experience in what we deem, the ego deems, a negative energy or a dark. And it's important to remember that Earth is the planet of feeling. This is the range. We're going to use this as an example. This is the range when you are back in your etheric body and you're back in the oneness of source. This is your range of emotion. It's just love. It's not a big, deep spectrum of love. It's just unconditional love. So we come to Earth because we go like this. We say, we want to feel the range and the depth of love. And we want to feel the range and the depth of discomfort. We want to feel. And then we get here and we create this plan, this map of destiny of all the things that we're going to feel to really transmute and transcend the human vessel from carbon to crystalline. That's ascension. Ascension is the body moving from carbon to crystalline. That is what ascension is. But we have to feel in order to have that ascension take place and make our bodies more crystalline. When we get here and we set up this plan and we set up all these things and say, you're going to help and you're going to help and you're going to help and this we're going to do and do this, we're going to do that. We get here and we're like, oh my God, I don't want to feel. I know, I've been one of those people. Isn't it ironic? It's so ironic. But as we continue and move forward in the thick of this shift, we are in the thick of it. The world stage is going to become a bigger shit show than it already is. It's going to become a fascinating reality show, right? I'm actually quite excited for it. And all the things that I'm seeing, you would think I would be upset or triggered or wanting to say, I told you so to people. And I'm just giddy because I know what's happening. I know why it's happening. I'm grateful that these things are being seen, right? Because that shows me how much light is on the planet at this moment in time. I don't see it as a negative thing. I get excited about it. So it's important for us to recognize that as we move forward in the thick of this shift, it's going to get a little bit more intense. And it has to, because the goal is to have more and more break that cognitive dissonance that they are in, that state of denial that they are in, and really awaken to more of themselves, right? We're not talking about this fake woke stuff that's out there. To be awake is to be more aware of who you actually are and what we are really doing, and understanding that this is an illusion and it feels really real. But when we have those moments, when we feel like life is hard, when things aren't going our way, when things are happening that we don't want to happen, when we're confused, uncertain, feeling fear, that we, one, accept where we are, right? Recognize where you are, accept where you are. For those of you who know the purification process, my modality, who've read my book, who've done my courses, who've heard me talk about it a bazillion times, practice it. I see you, recognize I'm angry. My human is angry. My human is sad. It's feeling sad, right? Use the word feeling. My human is feeling angry. My human is feeling sad. I see what's going on. I'm feeling fear. I'm feeling disconnected. I'm feeling uncertain. I'm feeling confused. Recognize it. I hear you. What is the story that's playing? What's the story telling you? That you're going to die, you're going to run out of food, you're going to run out of money, that whatever's happening in the world, how it's going to affect you. Observe the story that it's telling you. I am safe. Command it. Look around you. You are actually safe. It's safe to feel what's coming up because it's just energy in motion. And command your space to be a safe space. The fourth one is I love you anyway, which is compassion. You should be the kindest voice you hear. The voice in your head, the voice that you speak to yourself should be the kindest voice you hear. It should be unconditional, not judgmental. And anything else that you hear that is not compassionate, that isn't unconditionally loving, it's not your voice. It's a program that you can uninstall simply by recognizing that it's a program and that you did not install it. And once you've moved through those feelings, and let me tell you, when you really learn how to hold space for yourself and let your body go and allow yourself to really feel what's coming up, this is what anger feels like. This is what grief feels like. This is what confusion or fear feels like. When you really allow yourself to fully feel it, it should only last about 60 to 90 seconds. And the reason why people fight against that is because it feels too easy. So once they hit that mark and that energy starts to subside, they go back into the story of the mind and reprogram it into the body because that was just way too easy. Couldn't move through it in 60 seconds. But if you fully let go of your body and all the tension and you say, this is what this feels like, and you just allow yourself to sit in the ick for a minute, minute and a half, you're going to alchemize that energy. That is pure acceptance, because you're never really letting go of anything. You're only accepting it to be integrated into your being. Letting go is an illusion. You're never really letting go of anything. You're just merely accepting it. You're not fighting against it. There's no resistance. So when these heavy emotions come up, when you feel things are hard and you're struggling within this shift, remember the purification process. Allow yourself to go through it. It doesn't take a long time. And then remind yourself, this is what you came here for. Remind yourself that this is temporary. Remind yourself that this is happening for a bigger reason than you can fathom. Remind yourself that you are in the midst of the biggest shift that consciousness has ever seen. A shift that in a time and a space where this was the golden ticket. You wanted more than anything to be here. I know that can be really hard to hear sometimes. So my question to you is, what are you feeling? What are you struggling with? How are you experiencing this shift? How can I help? So let me put these glasses on so I can see. Feels like having menopause. Is that what you're saying? Menopause? 10 years before time, tough time. Yeah. The mystery school that Jesus attending before he came back from Egypt taught our power, but I don't know what you're saying. I can't see the rest of it. They do. I'm not sure what you're saying. Why would the creator bother itself with lower vibrational energy such as jealousy and things? That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Listen, Earth is the planet of duality. It's duality. It is something duality created, the Big Bang. So I had this experience, and this is something that I have channeled you guys multiple times. And then I had a physical experience of this where I went into what all I can describe it as. I have to, it's hard to describe the oneness in human words. It's beyond what our mind can comprehend. But the best way I can describe it is I went into this big, massive energy, just a big blob of energy. And I went into it and I went out of it. And I went into it and I went out of it. And as I went in, there was no separation between me, hi Billy Ann, and it. There was no separation between me and the oneness. However, I still knew who I was. And anytime, but I knew I was also connected and I was also the oneness. And anytime I had a thought, I instantly aligned to where that existed in the oneness and I knew what it was. And as I was going in and out of this oneness, they showed me that everything is God experiencing itself. And we're going to use the word God here because that's what a lot of people resonate with, right? There's literally like 5,000 gods, if not more. But it's really just source consciousness. So if we use the word God, it's interchangeable for me with source consciousness, just so we're clear how I'm speaking. So what it showed me is everything was God experiencing itself. This shirt was God experiencing itself as a shirt. Me, Johanna, experiencing itself as God as Johanna, as God experiencing itself as Johanna. This crystal, God experiencing itself as a crystal. This cup, God experiencing itself as a cup. Sounds strange, right? But I could feel it. I could feel, and it's quantum physics that everything is energy, right? So that's not some pseudoscience woo-woo. It is quantum physics that everything is energy. Everything is vibrating so intensely that it makes it physical. The more energy compacted makes something physical. So we are literally 99% space. Again, quantum physics. We are 99% empty space. So when you understand quantum physics, you understand that everything is made up of particles of energy. So what happened is God wanted to experience itself. Consciousness wanted to experience itself. So we had what we refer in the science world to as the Big Bang, fractaled itself into infinite pieces, and decided to create however many realities to experience itself, to learn, to evolve. Consciousness itself is what's evolving. The best way to do that is to have a mirror, or what we call duality. So Earth is one of the greatest schools, if you will, even though it really isn't a school. It's the greatest place we can choose to come and experience duality. We have duality in our relationships. Everything is a mirror at some level, reflecting something back to us, right? Our thoughts send out a signal. Our emotions draw energy in and help to create energy. So our thoughts are constantly sending out a broadcast of what it believes and what it thinks. But our magnetic field, our belief, what we truly believe, not what we want to tell ourselves and what we're just like affirmations. That's why I say affirmations don't always work. You can speak about anything, but if you don't really believe it, if you don't really feel it, you can't create it. You need both. So one sends out a signal, one magnetically comes in to create, draws in to create, draws it in, makes it physical. You need both. So this is why duality is so important. So to answer your question, why would God bother itself by creating these things? To learn from itself, to evolve, to grow. And to be clear, the human part of us is what we're ascending, that is filled with generations and generations of programming in the DNA, which is our physical carbon copy, right? Our physical DNA that's passed down is carbon. That's what's ascending. Children today that are born after a certain year are way more crystalline than us. They have come in with way less carbon programming than us. But that's what ascension is clearing that programming, making the body less dense and more crystalline. And in order to do that, we have to bring in a lot of higher frequencies. We have to shine it down. What happens when you shine a light? You get a shadow. What is judgment? What is anger? What is jealousy? It's a shadow. It's density. The only way to evolve is to see, choose differently, integrate, and grow. Look at everything on the planet is an example of that. Plants, trees, everything, the seasons, the metaphors to guide us are always around us. We just have to be open to seeing it and understanding it. And I'm not here to tell you that what you believe is not true, because what you believe will always be. People say seeing is believing. That's a belief. So believing is still seeing. And there are thousands and thousands of gods that have been created over the centuries for people to worship, because humans need something to believe in. And not everybody is ready to believe that we are all a fractal of the one source consciousness. And that's okay. That's okay. This is another thing, you guys, that I've noticed in this shift. My eyesight. My eyes are going through so much changes right now. So many changes. Jesus is real. Jesus is a real person. I've channeled Jesus many times. I'm just scrolling through comments. Here's another thing that I want to talk about, because there's some arguments going on in my comments on TikTok. When it comes to the world stage, I said earlier that they can't hide it, but they can distract it. Their job, because they can no longer hide anything, the universal or societal, collective, whatever word you want to use, veil has been gone for a very long time. There is no more veil. We have personal veils, but there is, when people say the veil is thinning, there is no more veil. The veil's been gone for a while. But you can have a personal veil. Okay, that's important to understand. That veil is made up of your belief systems, right? And your programming. But because they can no longer hide anything on the world stage, and I mean, when I mean by hide, I mean manipulate, evil, whatever you want to call the people that are trying to control and run the show, because they are living in their ego, right? They are not connected. They have disconnected themselves from that oneness. They want to live in the human ego and control. And that's because they feel powerless, right? It is what it is. But that can't be hidden anymore. So their job is to distract by doing something that is, or creating a story and putting it out in the media, or a narrative that is so wild and ridiculous, or something that pulls on your heartstrings, or get you to fight about some things. So what have they done over the years? Look about what's happened since 2020. We've had arguing over the Black Lives Matter movement. We've had gay rights. Now we have transgender, especially if you're in California. They are going to pick topics that are known button pushers to get you to fight about it. Because if you're busy fighting with other people and arguing and debating these topics, you are not paying attention to what's actually happening. They want you to not be present and aware of what's happening. And when they put out these ridiculous stories, or there's these stories in the media that are put out to distract, and we all make fun of them, and we all talk about them, and we all create memes about it, we are playing into their hand. We're doing exactly what they wanted us to do. We are taking the focus and attention away from what's really happening and giving it all to this ridiculous story. So while a lot of us thought we were helping out by sharing these memes and making light of a situation that we actually have no proof actually happened as a way of distraction, we were actually feeding right into their hand by what you focus on expands, right? So focusing on that story instead of going, I know this is a distraction. I shouldn't give any of my attention to it. And instead, I'm going to really start to open my awareness and see what else is happening. And so much was happening. So much corruptness was unveiled. So much happened. And there's so much that the CIA has actually released. You have to dig it. You got to go to their website and dig it up and read it. But it's all out there. It is available. It's not always easy to find, but you can find it. And I say this so that the next time, because there's going to be a lot more, these stories come out that are ridiculous, or my favorite, they pass new bills that get people fighting. There's one that's coming. Have you heard this one yet? California, they're preparing to ban the Bible. They're going to do a book ban on the Bible, Christian Bible, just the Christian Bible. Listen, I'm not Christian. I don't read the Bible. I have gone to a Christian church in the past. I have read parts of the Bible. I know religion was created as a form of government originally, as a form of control. I'm not judging you if you're religious or you go to church. I am not you, you do you. No judgment here. If it makes you feel great and connected, do it. But this in particular, they're going to do this because why? It's going to piss people off. It's going to get people fighting. It's going to get people angry. What does that do? That lowers their frequency. It lowers their frequency. When you're fighting and arguing with each other, it lowers your frequency. Don't take the bait. They're baiting you. This is where our awareness has to be paramount. Our presence has to be paramount. We have to be like, ooh, okay. Well, that's a crappy thing to do in that reality, but I'm not taking the bait. They're not going to come in your house and take your book. Okay? They're not going to do it. But when you go onto someone else's post, who's posting a belief that's not yours, and you want to get in an argument with them or try to prove your point to them, you are lowering your frequency. And if they take the bait, they're lowering their own frequency. We are all allowed to believe what we believe. It is safe to believe what you believe. It is safe to be where you are. This is consciousness. I might be right here. Someone else might be right here. Someone else might be right here. We're all looking at the same information from a different perspective. That's it. Some are more narrow, some are more wider. Neither are right or wrong. None of them are right or wrong. It's just a different perspective. And you are safe to have that belief. You are safe to have that perspective. You don't need to prove yourself. Now is the time to believe in yourself without judgment. Now is the time to no longer feel the need to prove. That comes from fear. That comes from insecurity. You don't resonate with me? You don't have to be here. It's not going to hurt my feelings. Not everybody is meant to be here with me. Maybe there is someone else that you better resonate with. Focus on what it is that is going to evolve your soul. What is going to raise your frequency, which is going to bring you peace and harmony and balance. Sometimes you come across people like me or other people who are meant to trigger you, who are meant to open your mind, who are meant to say, but what if? What if? So ponder it with curiosity, not from a space of, I've been wrong all of this time. This is why cognitive dissonance happens. You want to know why? Because people see things on the world stage and they go, I couldn't possibly have been wrong for 50 years. So I'm just going to pretend that that's not happening, that I didn't see that. I'm going to create and reconcile that somehow. That's what happens. The other big thing that's happening on the planet right now is the cleansing of the pedophilia energy. We all know what's out there, what's been happening. A lot of us have come to heal our own sexual trauma. I know I am, and I have helped many clients do the same. I have trained coaches to do the same. So as this comes out, and I need to say this because this came up again today in a session as well. These movies, there's going to be more than one movie that's about to come out, right? There's already been some publicity on one that's coming out. There's going to be more. When this starts to hit and more people see this, there's going to be this mass movement of people coming forward to share their stories, to talk about their stories, to get help with their stories of their own trauma. It's going to trigger the memory of trauma, maybe that they suppressed or forgot. The best thing we can do when we're witnessing these movies, when we're witnessing the unveiling of something that's been happening for a very long time that hurts our heart, is to have compassion. Not just, this is going to hurt, probably people are going to have a hard time with this, but not just for the victims, but for the perpetrators. Because how much pain do you have to be in to do something so harmful and painful and hurtful and devastating to an innocent child? How much pain do you have to be in? This is what it means to stand in a heart-centered place. It does not mean that we are accepting what they did. It does not mean that and what I mean by accepting is that it's okay. We're not justifying it. We're not saying it's okay because they're in pain. We're saying forgiveness is giving up hope that the past could be any different. This is what is. This is what's happened. And I have to, all my job is to do in witnessing what's being shown to me is to send compassion to those beautiful children and survivors of any type of sexual trauma. and to send compassion to the perpetrators while they are held responsible for their actions. Because how much pain does someone have to be in to murder, to rape, to molest, to break and enter, to hit somebody, to emotionally abuse or mentally abuse somebody? How much pain does someone have to be in to do those things? And Spirit has been clear for a very long time that those types of things happen when somebody is in a space of powerlessness. So much so that they cannot find their own inner power. So they feel like they have no other option but to take their power from somebody else. And in order to feel powerful, that means they have to take someone else's virtue. And I tell you this because it's to invoke compassion. Because again, what you focus on, you feed. And an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. So right now, what this world needs more of is compassion, love, forgiveness. And I know this is hard, but it's what we came here to do. Super grieving, body super heavy and hard to deal with negative emotions and thoughts and to surrender to uncertainty. Yes, there's a lot of grief because there's so much ending as we go through this merger. So much endings as we go through this merger. And it is hard to deal with the negative emotions. So you need to do it in chunks. But the more you can allow yourself to, again, when that trigger comes on, when that emotion comes on, if you can sit down or lay on the floor and just call it out. I'm feeling heavy. I'm feeling worthless. I'm feeling hopeless. I'm feeling pissed off. I'm feeling confused. I'm feeling uncertain. I'm feeling frustrated, exhausted. Call it out. Maybe you don't even have a name for it. Maybe you're just like, I'm feeling all the feels. I don't even know what this is. But the moment you do that, you're bringing yourself back to the present, and you can recognize in that moment that this is happening. And then again, you can recognize the story and allow yourself to unlock your body and say, it is safe to feel this. I love myself so much that I'm going to accept that I'm just fucking angry right now. That I'm confused right now. That I'm in fear right now. Because acceptance is alchemy. Remember, you're never really letting go of anything. When you feel an intense emotion, it is that emotion. It's been vended up from the deepest depths of somewhere stuck in your body, and it has risen up to the door of your heart, and it's pounding at the door of your heart, and it said, let me in. Will you love me like this? Because when I was 5, this is what it felt like, and you didn't know it because you disassociated from it to protect you. So when the trigger comes, when the emotion comes, recognize it's that little child inside of you is pounding at the door of your heart saying, let me in. Love me in this form. Love me like this. It will help you. It will help you accept the heavy emotions. Yeah, there's a lot we still don't know about. And you can believe without going to church. Yes, absolutely. July is going to be a very intense month. If you want to, I'm not an astrologer, but we are about to go through a node shift, which is always usually an intense time of the year anyway, when we have, it happens every 18 months. But beyond that, there's a lot that happens galactically in July. So we have the Galactic New Year towards the end of July. July Cancer season is the birth of the zodiac. So it's always a bridge of rebirthing. And again, we're going to be in the thick of that shift. So July always is a pretty intense month as it is, but it's going to be pretty intense this time. And intense is not good or bad. It just means it's going to be a lot. And that could mean You could be flying high, enjoying and living your best life, and just being in the unity frequencies and really digging everything. Or you could be in the shit. You could be in the thick of it. You could be in the weeds. Or you could be on the bridge going between both worlds. It's about finding your inner balance. It's about being grounded in you. Being grounded has nothing to do with the earth. It has everything to do with you being in your body. That's it. Earthing is when you connect to the earth. Grounding is when you put yourself in your body. So energy management, and I'm sure you guys have heard me say this a million times, but this is kind of my specialty. Learning to read and manage your own energy and your own body is the most powerful thing you will do as a human being, because it helps you learn how to heal yourself from physical illness, from mental and emotional chaosness. It's why I created the energy matrix. It's why I come on here and speak this. There's probably thousands of videos where I have talked about these different ways of energy management. But learning to manage your energy starts with knowing how to read and connect to your own emotions and body. Ready? Remember, mind, body, soul. There's the triangle for my logo. You can't see it on TikTok, but right? It's about that trifecta of the mind, body, and the spirit. You have to have all three working together. So when I have a pain in my body, and this is why I'm such a good energy reader when I do readings, I know exactly what that means. I have a dictionary, right? And if you're a practicing medium, you know what it means to have your own dictionary. But that dictionary doesn't start with other people. It can be added to from other people by working with clients, but that dictionary begins and really ends with you. What something feels like in your body. What certain senses mean to you. And learning how to communicate with the body so that you can heal the body, so that you can understand what you're going through without needing to connect to somebody outside of you. My job is to not have you need me. My job is for you to recognize that you are the guru. Not me. You are the Holy Grail. You are the healer. It's you. I will help you find it within you, but I'm not doing anything other than guiding you. When I have people come to me for private mentorship, they might do 1 or 2 runs with me, but my goal is to get them out on their own, to embody the tools, the very simple tools that will change their life, to learn how to know themselves so well that they are armed and prepared for their self-mastery journey, because that's what it is. It's self-mastery. What we came here for is self-mastery. To master the self, you must know the self in and out. So again, if you ever ask yourself, what do I need to focus on? If you don't already know how to read and communicate and connect with your body and your energy, it starts with there. Once you know that, then you can manage it. Then you can manage it. It's like you can't go into an office or a job site and manage everything without knowing what you're managing. So it always begins there. Always begins there. I swear to you, and I've said this a million times, I'll say it again, it should be taught in school. It should be taught in school how to do that. And one day it most likely will be, if it's still needed back then, or then, whatever. Okay, so we're coming up on an hour. Does anybody have any questions about what they're experiencing, symptoms they're having, what they're going through? You're right, Nancy. It is not easy, but it is necessary. None of this is easy. None of this is easy, but we didn't come here for easy shit. You know what's so funny? So one of my personal things on this planet is to make peace with uncertainty, right? To get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Well, those who have been following me, you know, I've been a nomad for, I don't know, 14, 15, 16 months now. I can't even tell you how long it's been. Where I'm living in complete uncertainty, living completely on faith. It's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my entire life. Most of my life has been in an uncertain energy anyway, from uncertain if I was going to be abused or neglected or have food or any of those things, as I grew up. But that's one of my lessons here, right? Is to come into acceptance, and acceptance is really living in that flow, right? But we fight against that. Humans don't like being uncertain. They like to know everything, right? That's the ego. The human is the ego, and they like to know everything. But this is the hilarious part. When I was going in and out of that source consciousness, I was really connecting to that. I really understood what the guides have been channeling through me for a long time, which is when we are in our etheric bodies, when we're back in that oneness, we know everything. It's quite boring. It's quite boring. You have a curiosity, you instantly align to it, and you know the answer. There's no real work. There's no efforting to get it. There's no challenge, right? It's kind of boring. So we come here because it's uncertain. It's adventurous. We're like, oh, let's go down. We won't know what's coming. We won't know where we're going. We won't know what to do. It'll be so much fun. It'll be an adventure. And then we get here and we're like, fuck this shit. I just want to know. And we get a million readings, and we use pendulums, and we do all of these things because we got to know. And that's just fear. Listen, I'm guilty of this shit too. I'm guilty of it. And I do have a mouth like a sailor, so I'm sorry. But I'm not sorry. It's just who I am. But I'm telling you, this is what happens. And I have to laugh because we all are guilty of this. We all do this. And then we go back and we're like, oh, man, messed that up. I didn't take advantage of it. I didn't enjoy the journey. I didn't live in the adventure. I didn't do it. I fought it the whole damn time. Let me go do it again. And then it just repeats. So when you're fighting the uncertainty, have the perspective shift of, I know it's always going to work out, because guess what? It always has. You're standing. You're alive. If you're alive and standing, it's worked out for you. And just because you think it's not working out doesn't mean it's not working out. You just don't understand. It's just not meeting your expectations. That's it. That's all that's happening. I know expectations are a big thing for me. So remember that. Just be like, oh, well, I'm alive. So it's always worked out in the past. It's most likely going to work out. I wonder how it's going to work out. Get curious. The guides constantly tell me curiosity is everything here. Get curious. I wonder how it's going to work out. I wonder how this is going to unfold. I wonder what adventure lies ahead of me. And get excited. Like if you're on a road trip and someone else was driving you and they're like, we're going to go on a surprise road trip and it's going to be so much fun. Wouldn't you just sit back, put your feet up on the dash and put your hand out the window and enjoy the ride and be like, hey, wherever I'm going, right? We have to take this mentality into our human life. Again, not easy, but it's to remind you when you're in that energy of fear of uncertainty to come back to that knowing, to shift your perspective. Wayne Dyer, love Dr. Wayne Dyer. He is known for saying, right? Change the way you see things. If you change the way you see things, the things you look at change. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Change your perspective. If you can't change circumstances, the only thing you have left to do is change the way you're looking at it. That's it. That is it. So again, July is going to be intense. We have the Galactic New Year. We have a really big shift in trajectory. We are in the thick of the shift where we're going through this mass merging, where there's going to be a lot of grief. There's going to be a lot of shedding. There's going to be a lot of people shifting frequencies. There's going to be a lot of Mandela effect type things where you're like, wait, what? Because we're shifting so incredibly quickly as we navigate through these merging timelines as we shift into that higher frequency. How will you know what, if you are in the unity frequency, if you're a bridge, or if you're on the lower? I think it's pretty obvious. If you're in a unity frequency, you're not judgmental. You don't judge yourself. You're not judging others. You see through the lens of your heart. You speak through the lens of your heart. You live in a very detached place. It doesn't mean you don't see things that are quote unquote negative or dark. It's that you don't judge them anymore. You're not attached to them. There's really little to no attachment. If you're a bridge, and listen, a lot of us may feel like we're a bridge right now because we are in transition. But if you are meant to be here as a bridge, then you're going to feel called to step into this work. And just because you step in this work doesn't mean you're a bridge either. So this is a very quantum topic, and it's very individualized, right? It's an inner knowing. Check with yourself. You're going to be here. If you're meant to be a bridge, you're going to constantly be drawn to help people shift into another frequency. If you're meant to be in the higher frequencies, you're literally just going to be an example of living your best life. You're literally just going to be holding that higher frequency. You're just going to be there. You don't need to worry about that in reality. You just need to be here in the present moment. You just need to be working with what is right in front of you, what you are feeling, what you are being called to do, listening to your intuition, flowing. And if you get confused, if you feel like you've lost your purpose, if you feel like you've lost your passion, if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, get still. Get still. Get quiet. Get curious. Get curious. Be open. And then set it down and know that the answer is on its way. Remember, you cannot seek and receive at the same time. And what you are seeking is seeking you. So put it out there, set it down, know that the answer is coming, because there cannot be a problem without a solution. This is duality. Both have to exist at the same time. Thank you for the compliment. Okay, my loves, I hope that was helpful with what we're going through right now. And thank you guys for joining me. And I'm sending you all lots of love. If you need help, you know how to reach me. You can book sessions. I do have 2 spaces of private mentorship available. They don't usually last very long, which is it's a 6-month commitment. And it is the most transformational thing you can do. But I have tons and tons of resources, everything from free to private mentorship available if you resonate with me and desire help moving forward in this journey. But I love all of you. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm sending you lots of love.